His Excellency President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., British Ambassador to the Philippines, Her Excellency Sarah Hulton, OBE, Ambassador of Japan to the Philippines, His Excellency Endo Kazuya, NWSS Chairman Elpidio J. Vega, SEC Chairman Attorney Francis Ed Lim, Maynilad Water Services, Inc., Board of Directors and Executive Officers, led by Chairman Manuel V. Pangilinan, Vice Chairman Isidro A. Consunhi, and President and CEO Ramoncito S. Fernandez. Representatives of the Joint Global Coordinators, Joint Book Runners, and all underwriters for this IPO, members of the PSE Board and Management Committee, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Recently, there have been a few doomsayers pontificating on the moribund state of our stock market, citing poor liquidity, sellout by foreign investors, and eroded investor confidence. Yes, our market is indeed facing headwinds, both global and local, resulting in the PSE index being down 10.6% year-to-date, or 8% on a total return basis, which includes dividends. But the Philippine market is not the only market that is going through some challenges. Not to go far, another ASEAN exchange is likewise facing its own problems, with its index down 8.1% year-to-date. Unfortunately, these doomsayers constantly propound in public the problems they perceive in our market, thereby reinforcing the already negative perceptions of the investing public in our market. They forget the saying that something said often becomes truth, meaning people are more likely to believe a statement is true if they keep hearing it repeatedly. I believe that in every problem or crisis, there is opportunity. The same is true for our market. Despite the supposedly unfavorable conditions prevailing in our market, the three companies, Oceana Gold, NextGen Energy, and Citycore Renewable, who had their IPOs in 2024, have seen their prices increase by 103%, 101%, and 56% respectively since their listing. Similarly, the only company, top line, that braved the IPO market so far this year has rewarded its investors with a return of 323% since its April listing. Maynilad Water Services, Inc. will be the second company to do an IPO this year. Coincidentally, it will also become the second biggest IPO in PSE's history, with 34.34 billion pesos worth of shares sold in the maiden offering. I understand the actual demand for this IPO was 2.7 times the firm offer. More than the amount, there are a few things that set Maynilad's IPO apart from the others. First, Maynilad had two foreign multilateral lenders, ADB and IFC, investing $245 billion in this IPO as anchor investors, and 6 other foreign investors participating as cornerstone investors. Clearly, disproving the doomsayers' claim of foreign investor disinterest in our market. Second, Maynilad is a second listed firm supported by Mobilis, one of the investment vehicles under the British Investment Partnerships program of the United Kingdom. Third, the Securities and Exchange Commission had awarded the country's first Philippine Green Equity label to Maynilad, which affirms the company's continuing adherence to sustainability standards. Finally, Maynilad is the first IPO since 2008 where the President of the Philippines will be ringing the bell for its listing. Maynilad is known as a pure-play, sustainable water and wastewater solutions provider, addressing UN Sustainable Development Goal number 6, which is about ensuring availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Maynilad's sustainable business activities will be further supported by this IPO as it will use majority of the capital raise to fund its water sources and treatment programs aimed at water security, including the development of future water sources, enhancement of operational efficiencies, and climate proofing of its capital assets. The continued growth and expansion of Maynilad has been made possible through the strategic, governance, sustainability, and leadership direction provided by pillars in Philippine business. Maynilad's chairman, the deal maker extraordinaire, Mr. Manny Pangilinan, and vice chairman, turnaround business leader, Mr. Sid Consunhi. Mr. Pangilinan and Consunhi have gone through the repeating cycles of the stock market. They understand that whether market conditions are perceived to be good or bad, capital raising will always be beneficial to a company that has a relevant story to tell and one that can maximize the deployment of funds for growth. Before I close, I would like to call on all the capital market stakeholders here to exploit and focus on the bright spots in our economy and our market, not the problems. Inflation is below the government's target. The IMF and ADB project continued steady growth for our economy and expect it to remain resilient. On the market side, earnings of listed companies are up 16.8% for the first half of this year. CIMEPA, or the Capital Market Efficiency Promotions Act, which took effect last July 1st, reduced the stock transaction tax from 0.6% to just 0.1% and has resulted in increasing the average daily trading volume in the market to 7.21 billion pesos from 6.1 billion last year, up 18.2%. CIMEPA has also increased by 50% the tax deduction for PERA contributions to encourage more companies to adopt PERA for their employees and trigger more trading in the market. As I end, I want to congratulate Maynilad Water Services, Inc. on its very successful IPO. As they say, fortune favors the brave. We wish you all the best as you continue to carry out your mission of providing safe, affordable, and sustainable water solutions that enable those whom you serve to lead healthier, more comfortable lives. Thank you very much, and may you all have a great day and a weekend ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Monzon. To give his message, may we call on Maynilad Chairperson, Manny V. Pangilinan.
Where's John? Yeah, I need that knee replacement. Okay. Your Excellency, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., Excellencies, distinguished guests, good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank the President for joining us this morning, and congratulations, Mr. President, for the encouraging news on inflation and the unemployment numbers. Congratulations. "18 years ago, we took on a company that was taken over by the government due to rather serious operational and financial difficulties. We believed then, as we do now, in the critical role that water plays in our people's lives. The Maynilad story for the past 18 years is one of transformation and growth. In 2007, connections stood at about 699,000. Now we serve 1,651,000 customers. Billed volume then was only 262 million cubic meters, and now we will breach the 500 million cubic meter mark for the full year 2025. In terms of coverage, Maynilad's network provides service to 95% of the 11 million people in the west zone of Metro Manila. So from an ailing water utility, Maynilad is now a world-class water and wastewater services provider. This has enabled us today to open our doors wider to a new set of investors, both local and international. But this listing is not just about franchise compliance, nor is it simply about capital raising. It is above all a commitment to continue delivering an essential service to our people with excellence and integrity. Thank you, Mr. President, for the attention and care and vigilance you're giving to the water sector. We thank the Philippine Stock Exchange and the Securities and Exchange Commission for their help in guiding this IPO. Thank you also for giving us the country's first green equity label. Our appreciation likewise goes to MWSS, our partner in ensuring that the water franchisees fulfill their public service mandate. We thank our new investors for their confidence. We are humbled by their overwhelming response, which signals confidence in our fundamentals and in the attraction of the Philippines and its capital market. To our financial advisors and underwriters, thank you for your faith and support. Finally, to the men and women of Maynilad, thank you for your dedication and professionalism. You are the reason this company has turned challenges into service and into success. So in closing, let me just say that within this single molecule called water dwell many of the potentials of the Philippines. We at Maynilad will work hard to ensure that water supply remains consistent and adequate for our people. As a nation of 7,000 islands or so, we must not simply consume this God's creation, but work together to harness His blessings. And this collaborative philosophy is what shapes and defines Manila today. We are thankful that we have your government, Mr. President, which shares this view. Many congratulations to all, and again, good morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson Pangilinan. At this point, may we call on the Chairperson of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Attorney Francis E. Lim, to introduce our guest of honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Thank you to the SEC Commission Chairperson Francis Lim for your kind introduction. Please, the Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, Philippine Stock Exchange Chairman Jose Pardo, Philippine Stock Exchange President and CEO Mon Monzon, Maynilad Chairman Manny Pangilinan, Maynilad President and CEO Ramoncito Fernandez, executives and employees of Philippine Stock Exchange and of Maynilad, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We mark today a milestone for our country's water sector, our stock market, and for our economy. The listing of Maynilad Water Services on the Philippine Stock Exchange is a sign of confidence in our markets and in our people. When Maynilad began operations more than 2 decades ago, the challenge of bringing clean and reliable water to every home in the west zone of Metro Manila was clear. So, what started out as a concession has since evolved into a partnership that continues to serve millions of Filipinos every day. This listing invites more investors and voices into the journey of managing a precious resource. With its initial public offering, Maynilad welcomes scrutiny and accountability. And in doing so, Maynilad can expand our capital markets and our shared belief that private enterprise can serve the public good. This also sends a message that transparency is a standard that all our institutions must abide by. Additionally, Maynilad's sustainability programs, including a climate-resilient water system, investments in renewable energy and waste management, watershed protection, these are all acts of stewardship that have future generations in mind. All these initiatives align with our government's agenda to build an economy that is adaptive and guided by sound governance. I'm also pleased to note that this occasion reflects a greater partnership between the public and private sector, where each side contributes to our shared prosperity. So truly, Maynilad's public listing signals what I have been telling the world, that the Philippines is open, ready, and eager to do business with you. To our partners in Maynilad, never lose sight of the people you serve. Be assured, the government is always in support of your initiatives, especially now that you have entered this new phase in your service. As we face the many challenges ahead, from climate change to the rebuilding of public trust, may this day remind us that reform is built on work done with honesty. Because I believe that when we do things with purpose and excellence, progress will flow just like water that is steady and life-giving. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay ang Maynilad, mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this point, may we request the President to please remain on stage for the ringing of the opening bells. May we call on PSE Chairperson Jose T. Pardo and Maynilad Chairperson Pangilinan to proceed on stage to join the President to ring the opening bells 8 times to signal the official listing of Maynilad and the opening of trading. May we also invite the executives of Maynilad and the PSE to witness the bell ringing. Time check, it's 9:26 a.m. and we only have 4 minutes left before we ring the opening bell. Three minutes left. Time check, it's 9:27 a.m. We still have 3 minutes left before we ring the opening bell, and the trading symbol to watch out for in today's trading is MYNLD. Maynilad's listing represents the issuance of up to 30.33% of its total outstanding stock, bringing the company into full compliance with its franchise requirements. The offers was supported by a mix of international and domestic cornerstones investors, including IFC and ADB. Last 2 minutes, I know we're all excited for the opening of trading today. This listing is the first green equity issuance in the Philippines, which received a medium green rating for S&P's climate transition accreditation. Maynilad has also adopted a dividend policy of either 50% of net income or 40% of net income plus amortization, whichever is higher. A great deal for our investors. May we request Chairman and President to please hold on to the rope and bell chain as we prepare for the bell ringing, which will happen in 1 minute. All right, we have seconds to go. "20 seconds remaining. I know everyone's excited. Let's get ready for the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, Mr. President. At this point, let me request the President to kindly grant us a photo opportunity. Please remain on stage, our guests who joined the bell ringing, and maybe request the President to kindly grant us a photo opportunity. First, may we call on stage the PSE and the Maynilad executives to proceed on stage. Everyone, please face the camera. All right, thank you, everyone. Please exit to your right. May we call on stage the Ambassador of the United Kingdom, the Ambassador of Japan, and the other guests. Again, may I please request our guests who joined us a while ago to exit on the right, and may we call on the Ambassador of the United Kingdom, the Ambassador of Japan, and other guests for another photo opportunity. May I please request everyone to face the camera as we prepare for the photo opportunity. Thank you, everyone. Please exit to your right. Thank you, Mr. President, for granting us a photo opportunity. That concludes our... That concludes our program. Thank you, Mr. President, for gracing the Maynilad Water Services, Inc. initial public offering listing ceremony. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.